In the last lecture we talked about using if statements and some different ways that we can use them. In this lecture we're going to do a quick review of that, and then we're going to show a new way of doing some things. Instead of using if statements, we're going to use case statements. And then we'll show you a useful application of when we can use case statements and how it can really help you design a nice dynamic website. Okay, in our last example we covered if statements and how we can use those if statements to customize the content on a web page. And during the example we checked to see if a certain user was visiting our page, and we did one thing if he was, and we did something else if he wasn't. Well, what if we wanted to customize this page for more than one user? Let's say that we have 3 or 4 different users that are going to come visit our web page. So, and we want to customize the page for each one. Well, call this the case statement. And what we could do is, first of all, we can get the name of our visitor. And right now I'll just echo out his name so we can make sure that the page is up and running. I'll often do this, just kind of start with a little hello world or something really small and make sure that it works. And then I'll load that page up. Let me make sure I save this. And we get that statement. Of course, the name isn't getting printed out because we don't have them yet. So we'll add them on, and we'll have Fred visit the page, and we see his name there. Okay. So what we can do now is we could do some if statements, and we could go if the name is equal to Fred. And then we'll do a little PHP code block here. And we can just print out welcome Fred right there. And now we get the welcome Fred on the page. Now it could be other people, so we could do a series of else ifs. So if the name is equal to Bob, that in quotes, and then we can welcome Bob. Now, I know this is, right now it seems silly, why not just print out their name right here? Make sure it's a capital Bob. But what if there was a whole bunch of different HTML that we throw in here, not just one line? So I'll leave it to one line, but we'd only use this if there was a whole bunch of different HTML that we would do in each one of these cases. So, and then maybe we'll have one more visitor that we're looking for, and maybe his name could be Jerry. So we have Fred, Bob, and Jerry that can visit this page, and we're going to do some sort of customization for each one. And then we'll have a default case. Now, if you notice here, I'm entering into PHP mode and then going back into HTML mode, and then PHP mode for my else ifs, and then back into the HTML when I'm printing this out. And we will say welcome guest. So In this case, we have a lot of, hopefully we'd have a lot of HTML. I know it's just one line for this example, but we wanted to do something different for each person that's visiting this page. So I'll save this, and we'll see what happens when various people visit our page. So when Fred visits, we see welcome Fred. When Bob visits, we see welcome Bob. When Jerry visits, we see welcome Jerry. And when Mike visits, we'll see welcome guest, because we don't have a case for that. Now, typing out this else if statement right here can get a little bit tedious, so it definitely works, but maybe there's a lot of if else's, and so there is another way that we can do that, and that's with a case statement. So instead of doing all of this, I'm gonna delete all of this and start off with a blank thing, and we'll go ahead and still get the name from the query string. Right here. And now, instead of doing an if statement and an if else and a series of those, what we'll do is we'll go switch and then put the variable name right here. So this is the same thing right there. And we put one code block. And then we type case Fred and a colon after that. We can keep typing these cases for each user that we want. So Bob case, Jerry, just like that. And now I can go out of my PHP code blocks as well, enter it back in, right there, and finally try to line up the bracket with that. Okay. So now I have a case for Fred, a case for Bob, and a case for Jerry. And now we can type the welcome Fred in here and the welcome Bob. And the welcome Jerry. And I should show you, I'm actually, well, won't go in and out of PHP mode to start off with. I'll just show you how this might look if you don't want to do that, just so you can see both forms of it. Okay, so so instead of this, you know, we can have actual PHP commands like echo welcome Fred right there, or we can exit in and out of our PHP. I just wanted to show you what the format of this would look like if we didn't go into and out of PHP mode. But I'm gonna go ahead and put those tags back in that I just deleted. Okay, and so now they're back in, and this does the same thing as the if out. And if we have the if statement, if name is equal to Fred, else if name is equal to Bob, else if name is equal to Jerry. Go ahead and see what happens. We'll save this. And we'll see what happens if Jerry visits our site. So it says welcome Jerry. Now what about somebody they don't know? ask Mike. Well, nothing happens for that because if you look back in the code, it only handles the case of Fred, Bob, and Jerry. Now, let's see what happens when Fred visits the site. Well, now notice it's saying welcome Fred, welcome Bob, welcome Jerry. It's saying all three of them. Well, that's interesting. What happens if Bob visits this site? Now we just get welcome Bob, welcome Jerry. Okay, so let's look back at this code and what happened in that case. When Fred visited the site, it matched this first case, and then it started executing or printing out HTML from this point on, or if there were PHP code, it would execute the PHP code too. And it sees this other case, but it keeps on going, so it goes ahead and prints out welcome Bob and welcome Jerry, and it keeps on going. So sometimes if you want, in this case you want all of this stuff to happen, that could be very helpful. And then in this case you only want these two lines to happen, or in this case you only want this last line to happen. It could be very helpful, but let's just say that we just want welcome Fred to be printed out. Well, in that case what we do is we add a break statement. So it will keep going and executing code until it finds a break, and the break tells it to give up or to exit out of the switch statement, and then it will come down into here. So once we do that, I'll put Fred back in, and we see welcome Fred. And just welcome Fred, not welcome Bob and Jerry. That's because the break right here poked them out of the case statement. Now, it's important to note that this break is within the PHP code block. We can't put the break outside of it in the HTML section here, or else we just get a break and a semicolon printed out onto the web page. But notice there isn't a break for Bob, so Bob, when he visits the site, he'll get Bob and Jerry. So let's go ahead and add a break for Bob so that that doesn't happen in Bob's case. And we don't need one for Jerry because nothing else is going to happen. We're going to exit the switch statement, but we could add one in if we wanted to. So add that one in. It doesn't hurt to add it in. So now we'll see the case with Bob. It's just Bob, and now we'll try Jerry. Okay, and now what about people that we don't know or we're not planning for? Like someone like Mike comes showing up. Well, none of this gets done. Well, what we can also do, and you always want this to be the last one, is do a default case. So you just type default, and we can exit our PHP, re-enter it in there, and now we can have a message for everyone else. And let's see here. Now we get welcome guest. So that's the switch statement. Again, we don't need the break down here because we're just going to exit, but now since we have this break, welcome Jerry won't go on and execute welcome guest. If I didn't have this line, I'll just comment it out, and we'll see what happens when Jerry visits the site. Now we get welcome Jerry, welcome guest, because there's no break statement. It will just go on and keep on going through that. So this is another way that you can do the if-else statements. In some cases it might save a lot of typing and it's a little more clear. In other cases it might not save that much typing and might not be worth it. But this is another way that you can do some if-else statements. Now this is an example of stuff that you can do with a switch statement, but it might not seem all that useful for you right now. But I'm going to show you something really useful that you can do with this switch statement. Now, instead of name, I'm going to call this a page, and up here I'm going to get a page instead. So instead of visitor, I am going to put page. First of all, let's just load up this page right here. Notice the switch statement will use page as well. And now, let's say that I have a page or a kind of a website, and I want to have an about section, a page that says about me, maybe a contact page, and then down here I could have a links page, and then I have a default page, and I'm going to call this maybe welcome. Welcome to my home page for the default right there. And then for the links, maybe I'll just put a link in here. We'll go ahead and link to Case2. And contact. Let's put my email here, and then about page I can just say I am taking CIS 401 web application development. Okay, now notice I had the default go to the home page. That way, if the page variable isn't set, or if it's set to something that I haven't defined, then they'll get this home page right here. So we'll try this. It says welcome to my home page. Now I can add in page equals about, and I am taking CIS1 application development, and I can put page equals links, and we have the links. I commented out the break statement, so if you go back to my code and put that in, and we'll go back to this and we'll get rid of that. So now we have a link to map course, and of course if they put something weird here, it just defaults to the home page. So now we can have a page that looks like it's 3 or 4 different web pages, but it's all in one page right here. And now you might say, well, that's not all that useful, because my users will have to type up here the about page to get to the about, or the home page, they'd have to take it off to get to the home page. Actually, we could go ahead and put some navigation links here. So we want this to be the home page. We know it's case.php page equals home. Now we could just leave this off. Just have them go right there to the home page. A case.php. By the way, case.php is the name of my this PHP script that I'm running. So we can go page equals about. And then we'll get a couple more links here. So, and then we can go contact and links. And should we put text? And now we'll refresh this right here. Maybe I'll also put a line break here so it looks a little better. Maybe a couple line breaks. Anyways, we have the links up here. Right now we click on home, and if you notice up here there's nothing, but then I could click on this about link, and now up here we have page equals about. Now I didn't type that in, I got that from the link. The contact link as well, and the links. And now this page looks like it's changing. Now again, when I click on a page, it says page equals contact, so that's because the href, or the location of the link, has the question mark page equals something on there, so that the links can actually carry information in and tell my switch statement which page to print up when people click on those links. So there's the useful application of this.